probably sent more than 100 CVs, or was it 1,000 CVs? So I said, I'm going to go to the internet cafe and I'm going to apply for a job, but today I'm going to get a job. Like, oh yeah, there's a position, somebody resigned yesterday. Send your CV. So I ended up saying, if you want perception to be a reality, it's gonna be your reality, not mine. They didn't really offer an apology per se, but it was, I call it a near apology. You know, when somebody is maybe too proud to say I'm sorry,
Yes.
but then tries to go around it. You know what, Jessica, all I just wanted to do is to help you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jessica's channel. We are now on episode 6 of the unpacking of her memoir, Shooting Through Concrete Walls, and this will be the final episode of our unpacking because we would like you to find out more by purchasing and actually reading the rest of the chapters. So when we left off, you had now been promoted to this headquarters. You now had secured a job at the headquarters of the company.
Yes, a permanent position, yes.
So take us through that journey.
Oh, that was a great phase of my life. Things were opening up. The light at the end of the tunnel was now,
It was beaming.
It was definitely. So yeah, after a while, I then brought you over. You had enrolled at a boarding school in primary school, but then after a while, the economy in Zim had gone down.
Yes.
And it was terrible. So I was like, I can't stay any longer apart from my daughter. So I brought you over. Things were looking up.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as you joined me, well into my second year of working in that company, the world economy just melted.
That was 2009.
2009.
2009 now.
Yeah.
After the crash.
Yeah, there was a crash and I think it was a global thing.
Yes, it was certainly.
So in the industry that I was working in, obviously it shrunk, turnovers shrank, people cut down on expenses, so companies were not making as much profit as they were making before, and they had then to reduce their costs. And one of the biggest costs that these companies had to reduce was staff.
Payroll.
Yeah, staff costs, personal costs, payroll, yeah. So yeah, and I was one of the people that were last in. So I was one of the people that had joined at the last. So we were, our contracts were terminated, we were retrenched. And yeah, and it was a difficult moment for people to get jobs, you know.
Yeah, because all companies were impacted.
Yeah. So I was back into the job market, now staying with you. So luckily for me, I had already established a rhythm of managing to survive or to stay afloat. So it didn't really, it shook me, but I knew I was going to survive. I knew I was going to survive. So started looking for part-time jobs. Would get a job here, a contract here, accounting jobs, and whenever I didn't have accounting jobs, I would call some of my the old people that used to give me some house cleaning work, and I would double up with that. At least get some money for groceries. Yeah.
So how did that feel again to be back in a space where you had to do the jobs that you were doing when you just entered South Africa, and this is after years of being there, having elevated, having seen like progress.
Yes, having seen progress, having received favor from bosses, having been promoted, and then suddenly you're back in the job market and you're doing the work that you used to do years before.
Just to, like, you know, as the entrance.
Yes, back to the entry level that you were. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was very difficult, but I knew that I didn't have, you know, when you don't have the luxury to just sit and mourn, because even if you sit and mourn and not do anything, nothing changes. So I just had to, I felt bad, I felt unfortunate, I felt like, why is my life moving backwards? You know, I felt I'd made some huge steps forward, now I felt like I'm going backwards, you know. But I just kept pushing. I don't know, for some reason, there was just something in me that just said, just keep afloat, don't sink, just, even if you're not making progress, but just don't move from where you are. So just try to maintain. And that's what I did. So I continued to do house cleaning jobs here and there. I would get part-time jobs in accounting. And I remember one incident, I was jobless and I was like, I went to church and then passed by the notice board, and then I thought, people are advertising for positions, let me just put a little, when they've got little papers, so I just wrote my name and what I was looking for, bookkeeping, accounting work. And then, so the church was close to the mall in Pretoria East. And so after that church service, wrote that notice, passed by the mall, just window shopping, whiling up time. And before I left the mall to go home, I received a call. Somebody at the church who had his own company, I don't know, I think he was looking for resources and then decided, I don't know why either he thought he was really going to get a resource at the notice board, I'm not sure. But he passed by the notice board and saw my little piece of paper and he called me. He's like,
what a coincidence. You wouldn't think that you could actually secure a job that way.
Yeah.
Without a referral, just a piece of paper on a notice board full of other pieces of paper.
Yeah.
And she was able to pick that up and read it actually.
Pick it up, read, called me. Where are you? I'm in the mall. Okay, can we meet?
That same day?
Same day. By the time I went home, I had a job offer.
What?
Yeah. By the time I got home, I had a job offer. So I worked in that company, bookkeeping, bit of business development, but things were not very, very upward looking, even for the company itself. So after like a couple of months, they said they were also going to downsize. Yeah. Said they were going to downsize. So yeah, I was shocked again. Yes, I was shocked again. But I continued. I had not stopped doing part-time jobs, so I kept doing part-time jobs. But for a while, I was applying and not getting positive responses. That time I wasn't driving. I didn't have a car. So sometimes if you submit a CV and they call you for a certain position and then they ask, do you have a car? We need you to be able to be mobile. Then I'm like, I don't have a car. I'm like, oh, we really like your CV, but because you're not mobile. So I had a lot of near misses. It was really painful. I was just like, I can't get a car because I don't have steady income. I don't have steady income, so I won't be able to buy. But the fact that I don't have a car is also affecting my employment prospects. So it was painful. When you have these near misses, somebody's like, I'm impressed, we like your CV, they interview you, and then last minute they ask you if you're mobile. And then, yeah. So I had a lot of near misses, I had a lot of closed doors. It was a painful season. And besides doing part-time work in cleaning, part-time work in bookkeeping, I also started venturing into small business ventures, buying and selling, where there was a time I would go to Joburg, China shop, order handbags. People knew that I was supplying handbags. I would supply some bags to Zimbabwe, some amongst my friends. Clothes, I would buy clothes in shops and deliver them to Zim. And then my brother and sister-in-law were in Zim at that time, and I had started a perfume business as well. And that sustained us for some time. It did sustain to the point that even when Anisu started high school, most of the income that we were getting from the perfume business was sufficient enough to cover us in terms of most of the things that we needed. So that really came in handy. Yeah, it was something that we thank God for. So I learned to do a bit of business, but I still kept looking for a job. And then eventually, from the time that I was retrenched in 2009, I got a job 4 years later.
Wow.
I got a permanent job 4 years later. Not a job. I got a permanent job 4 years later. In between, I had contracts, 5 months contracts, 4 months contracts. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you feel when you had to now venture into business? Did you feel like maybe this could be your path, or you were still focused on getting into the job market? I'd like to understand where your mind was at during that time.
That time I was still focused on getting a full-time job. Mm-hmm. So for me, business was a supplementary thing. It wasn't my priority thing. Although I wish now that you ask me, I wish I could have just focused on that.
Yes, because here you are now at business.
Yeah, I'm still trying to set up and launch into full-time business. But yeah, I wish I had done it sooner.
But you know what? Maybe you needed to learn more lessons so that you can now come back full force and not have anything to hold you back?
Obviously, there's a lot of lessons that I learned from, as much as it was work, but the kind of skills that I obtained in all the different jobs that I did.
Yes.
Most of them are coming in handy even up to now.
Yes.
Yeah, most of them are coming in handy.
And I see that, the business development, everything is coming together well.
It's coming together. It's easier now for me to think marketing, reaching out, clients, how do you network, things like that. It's not as difficult as it would have been if I had not been exposed to it in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those soft skills that you need. Yeah.
I gathered them in the workplace, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And then from there, after these 4 years, what transpired? Like, what was your next move?
So I worked for that company.
Which company is it?
The company that I got a permanent position in a consulting company.
So talk us through how you got that position.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's a nice. So, yes. Remember, I had been submitting, I don't know, countless. Actually, there's a niece of mine who reminded me a couple of months ago that I once mentioned to her that I probably sent more than 100 CVs, or was it 1,000 CVs? It's like, Gogo, you once told me that you submitted 1,000 CVs and you kept on going. Then I'm like, I had forgotten about that. She's like, yes. So I've learned resilience from you. I've learned consistency. I've learned not giving up. So I was sending so many CVs to the point that I wasn't sure anymore. Sometimes you send, and then sometimes you feel like, I've sent too much. And then you don't feel motivated to do it. So one day I visited my friend. I was at my friend's place. I'd slept over at my friend's place. And then in the morning, I think we're now getting ready for breakfast or something like that. Then I just say to her, you know what? Today, I'm going to apply for a job. And I didn't have a smartphone at that time. I didn't have a laptop at that time. So I was going to go to the internet cafe to go and, go on all these job websites and send my CVs. So I said, I'm going to go to the internet cafe and I'm going to apply for a job. But today, I'm going to get a job. Today, I'm going to get a job.
Wow. You decided?
I decided. I said, today, out of all the CVs that I'm sending out, I am going to get a job.
What made you wake up feeling different that day that you made such a bold statement after 4 years of trying?
I was trying. I'm not sure if I was trying with the positivity or not, but honestly,
there's something to take from that. You decided.
Yeah, I decided.
You didn't ask. You decided.
Yes, I said it. She even reminded me, because sometimes you forget some of these things and your friends are like, but like when you're going through a bad patch and they're like, but Jessica, don't forget the faith that you sometimes exercise.
Yes.
Like in that incident, and then I'm like, which incident? It's like that incident you actually said, I'm going to apply and get a job. Within hours, you were going for an interview. At the end of that day, you had a job offer.
Exactly. I think honestly, we can all take note of this faith that, sometimes we like to ask a lot. Can I? But it's only when you say, I am.
Yeah.
That things shift for you. You must assert yourself, you must affirm yourself, you must declare it, and that's how it comes to being. Yeah. That's when you know that you're confident in knowing that it's gonna happen, because you don't have a question about it anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that day I felt so sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I felt so sure or I knew that I had to do something different from what I've done before. I'm not sure whether it was because I was so sure, or I felt like I've been doing the same thing over and over. I must do something different. I'm done with
gonna do it.
Yeah,
it's yours,
and I'm going to declare it, and I'm going to take it. So the moment I say that to my friend, the moment I said I'm applying, I'm going to go to the internet cafe, I'm going to send out CVs, and today I'm getting a job. I think it was less than 30 minutes. I hadn't gotten out of the house. Then I remembered a certain recruiter that I'd dealt with, before. Then I said, you know what? Let me just call this person and find out if they have positions. The person who was working in HR. And then I just called them. I'm like, hey, I'm in the job market. Do you have something that suits my profile? They're like, oh yeah, there's a position, somebody resigned yesterday. Send your CV.
Imagine.
Yeah, send your CV. before I could remember, I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have. So I was gonna go to the internet cafe. A few minutes later, they called back. They're like, "Oh, okay, I've just spoken to the other guys, senior management executives, and do you mind coming over for an interview?" Because I had dealt with them before. They knew my profile. I'm in Pretoria. Where are you? They were in Joburg. And remember, I said I had gone to visit my friend, so I was not in my house. So even proper official clothing for me to go for an interview, I didn't have on me. Sometimes you just go casually dressed.
Yes.
So I had to now take a taxi to Pretoria East to my house to change, another taxi back to Pretoria town. Then I realized this use of taxis was gonna take my time. I was gonna waste my time. And then I phoned somebody, a taxi, probably like a metered taxi. Negotiated a price. I'm like, "Can you drive me to Park Town?" Yeah. And then got to Park Town. Meanwhile, calling, I'm on my way. Got there around, I think it was 2 o'clock. We had an interview. Like, "We know you, we've worked with you, but for the job profile that we have, you suit the requirements. We're going to have another interview tomorrow with this project manager that you're going to work with."
Wow.
The next day I went, the project manager interviewed me, submitted his recommendations to HR. Within a week or so, I had an offer letter.
Wow.
And I was starting with the following month.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a big break.
It was a big break, and sometimes I forget about it, but I love the fact that, when you say things, people will always remind you that you said yourself. So people remind me that the faith that you had, you declared it and you said you're going to get it, and it's helped you. So whenever you feel down, don't forget to stand in a position of faith.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And don't let people make you think that you are being arrogant by having faith. Stand on that. That is what you want, and only you understand, and you must declare it. Don't let anybody tell you, "Oh, don't be like that, you're gonna be pompous." No. That's how you get the things that you want, actually. So
I, when you say that, I actually try to imagine what my friend thought when I said, "Today I'm applying and I'm gonna get it." I think she probably thought, "Okay, she's just saying it." I don't know, I never asked, but now that you say it, I'm wondering, she probably thought, she's just saying it. But when it happened, she was like, "Okay, there is actually power in saying things positively." Yeah, there is power in saying things as if they were, and they will happen.
Yes.
Say it as it was. Say things as if they were, and they will be.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So when you've joined now, how was your mindset? How did you adjust or adapt? Were you not scared that one day you just wake up and there would be a retrenchment because of all that you had gone through? Did you have imposter syndrome because of not being in a consistent place of work for a long time? Like, what were you going through? Did you doubt yourself at some point, or how did you navigate?
I was a bit unsure. It was a new environment. It was kind of like the kind of projects that we were working on was something new. So there was a lot of learning to do. But I was also fortunate that at that time the project manager I was working with was also quite helpful, quite nice. But I think the adjustment was not easy for me, having been in a drought season for a long time. It took me a while to just become at ease and believe that I deserve to be here. I think in the initial days I just thought, maybe it was disbelief. Am I really here? Am I really here? Yeah. But after a while, and it took a lot of mental work for me. It took a lot of mental work for me to actually say, you know what, I actually deserve to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I can imagine if you've gone through things that kind of cause trauma, it's bound to come to you like, is this really happening?
Is this happening?
Is it gonna last?
Maybe I'm gonna lose the job
exactly.
like previous times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to let people know that they can work through that. They don't have to give up just because they're having those thoughts. Those thoughts are not true, and they don't determine where you are going, or like they're not gonna determine your current situation. So if those thoughts come to you, like we refer to them as imposter syndrome, like, am I worthy of being here? Do I deserve to be in this new position? Can I do it? I mean, if they chose you, then it means that you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Things are not coincidence. If they chose you, it means even if you don't know the job, you can learn how to do it and excel on it.
Nobody knows everything.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need to ask, sometimes you need to research.
Exactly.
Nobody has all the answers.
But never count yourself out. Basically,
Exactly.
that's the lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right. So you now with your new colleagues and you are now working in this place. What then took place? What transpired afterwards?
Okay, so the first 6 to 8 months were good. I was working on a different project, good team. Then after like 8 months, I was then moved to a different project.
Oh, so now you're with a different project manager.
Different project manager.
Mhm.
That's when I had a very tough experience.
Oof.
Yeah, that was the most difficult phase of that. I was at that company for, I don't know, 6, 7 years. But that period was the toughest of them all.
And how long did that period last?
5 months. Yeah, 5 months of torture. 5 months of torture from the very.
When you say 5 months of torture, who was torturing you? Like, would like to know, like, what torture? Who was torturing you? What happened? Like, take us through.
So, in the book I call Project Manager from Hell. I am not meaning any disrespect, but my reality was that this project manager was just impossible. You know, not just initially it was to me, because when this new project was now, you know, when you put together a project team, initially we were fewer of us. So initially we were like skeleton staff, and then the project started growing bigger, and then there was scope extension.
Mm-hmm.
There was scope extension, so new members were brought in. So I was one of the first people that were assigned to this project, together with the project manager and one senior other person. So initially I was working close to the project manager. So as we were now establishing scope and everything, it was a smaller team, and then which eventually grew. It was just from the get-go, she was just a difficult person. Okay. Let me not say she. From the get-go, this project manager was difficult, uncompromising, not tolerant, not good at explaining things, but still expecting you to meet deliverables that are not clearly defined. And sometimes when the director would come and would have what we used to call problem-solving sessions, we would break down things and clarify the tasks. We do issue trees, we do problem-solving statements and issue trees, and it's clear what we need to do, who's doing what, by when, what are the deliverables, and all that. And everybody walks away clear in terms of what they're doing. Once the director just steps out, 30 minutes into it, the project manager starts checking on you in terms of progress. As you're communicating progress, the project manager starts chopping and changing whatever was agreed on at the beginning. So you are clear that after the problem-solving session, we were supposed to do 1, 2, 3. It was clear. We drew it on the boards and whiteboards and everything. And then she chops and then the project manager would chop and change. But then now you are stuck with the project manager. The director is gone. You know what the director wants. The project manager is on your neck, breathing down your neck every 10 minutes. How far are you? How far are you? Why are you doing this? No, that's not it. You didn't understand it clearly. No, I understood it clearly. This is what we agreed, and this is what we're working towards. No, don't do it. Don't do it. And then change goalposts. 2 days later, 3 days later, when the director comes, the whole team is doing something different. We all know this is different from what we agreed, and the director is like, what's going on? Why did you change? And the project manager doesn't stand their ground to say, I made them change. The project manager makes it seem like we just changed. And now you're stuck there, wondering, do I tell the director in the presence of the project manager that, hey, this project manager is the one who's misleading us?
So the whole team was doing something different.
So the whole team,
just you.
It wasn't just me, but sometimes I would get the crap because I was more senior. So if the team who happened to be junior than me make a mistake, I would then get the blame. Yeah.
So because this was a new project, probably new, there wasn't a standard procedures, like there were not standard
We were
procedures.
developing the standard procedures as
okay.
we're going. Yeah.
So you couldn't be like, you couldn't stand your ground and say, no, I can't, this is what the director asked for, that's what I'm going to do.
Even if you stand your ground, then the project manager will report you. Because a couple of times people would come and tell me that they were in this meeting and there were discussions on the progress of the project, and the directors were concerned that things were not moving, and my name would be thrown as one of the people who are not delivering.
So I was wondering, since this was a new project, you probably didn't have standard procedures on how to do the work, which is why you had the meetings with the director.
Yeah, we were developing them as we grow, as we went. But in consulting, the other thing, you might have standard operating procedures, but sometimes adaptability also is important.
Yes.
Because things change frequently.
Yes.
So you should be able to shift. Obviously, there is standard operating procedures, but there are certain activities and steps that you can't really cut them in stone and say you have to do this exactly as it is, because it changes if resources change, if the client expectations change, if maybe you don't have this thing, you have to find a way of maneuvering. So some things you have to learn to adapt. Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, or if one can take a look at the story and be like, okay, the project manager will change everything, was there room for you to stand up to her and say, nope, I'm going to follow what the director said, because at the end of the day, I'm hearing that you keep throwing my name out there and saying that I'm the reason why the project is not moving forward. At least let me do what the director is saying, so that there will not be any evidence to collaborate, that I am the reason why the project is not moving forward. Like, was there any room for you to stand up and say, I'm going to do what the director said? And at least if they're going to look at my work, they'll see that I'm actually doing the right thing. Or like, how was it for you there?
So what I remember is the very first time the project manager would come and try to change. I would say, this is what was communicated, these are the notes we took, this is whatever. I would actually say, this is not what we agreed. These are the pictures that we took. We'll take sometimes photos of the board where we were drawing the issue trees and everything. So we'll take, and then she's like, no, that's not it. But this is what we agreed. No, that's not it. You're the one at fault. You don't understand.
So she was like intimidating.
Exactly.
Trying to make you feel like you didn't know.
She would actually say, it's unacceptable. Your performance is below par. This is unacceptable. I don't know how many times a day she would be breathing like. Yeah.
So it kind of means that someone can lie to you about the things that you know, like.
Somebody can actually tell you this is not correct when it is correct, and because they hold power or authority, sometimes in this case the director is relying on the project manager.
And you are new to this.
I'm new, yes.
New career. So
and the other thing,
that's like the trigger point for you, like incompetent. What do you mean? Does that mean I'm going to lose my job again?
Exactly. Now? So the other thing, you're raising a good point. I'm going to come back to that. A bit of context. The project manager was coming from one of these reputable consulting companies. Let's say you're in audit, they are big 4 companies. So if somebody comes and says, this person is coming, audit their articles at a big 4 already, without even retesting whether that person is capable, we already assign or assume they know what they're doing. Yes. So this person was coming from a reputable consulting company, one of the well-known consulting companies in South Africa. They are even international, they've got branches in Europe and everything. So if somebody said they were at this company, people already look at them like, oh my God, this person knows what they're doing. So the project manager was coming from this company. The director...
But on the high side, maybe they got fired from there.
Maybe they got fired, we don't know. We don't know. But when they came, we were like, oh, they came from this company.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that even the directors gave them the responsibility to say, if they're coming from this, so they know what they're doing. Yes. So at the beginning, they trusted their assessments, their conclusions.
Were biased based on the
they were biased, exactly, because they never, for the first, that's why I said I had a difficult period for 5 months. Only around the 5th month, that's when they started realizing all the issues that all along we are hearing are happening at this team. And we are hearing excuses to say it's Jessica, it's so and so, it's so and so. We think it's we, and they started seeing that no.
Started to sink in, like it.
I don't know how it took so long. Maybe because of the trust that they had. They were busy, so they didn't really supervise or check the project manager's work. They
because you can't keep blaming the team.
Exactly, that's what I was also feeling.
Yeah,
I wasn't the project manager at that time, but I was like, I can't work with a team. And if the team messes up, when I go for an executive meeting, I say, oh, we messed up at the project because of the team. What is my role?
Exactly.
Why am I not supervising the team? Why am I not showing them the ropes? Why am I not doing the right thing? How can I say, oh, if you're my subordinate, she's messing up all the time. What have I done about it? If it's because you don't have the skills, why am I not training you?
And in time, like if you can see that this person is working and doing something wrong on the first day, by the second day it should be corrected.
Exactly.
You don't wait until the
Exactly.
the milestone is missed or something.
So I think in the long term they then realize, no, this person is giving excuses and complaining. It's always this person. It's always this person. So ultimately, I believe they might have seen the light at the end, but it took a lot of me being blamed falsely for things that, if I knew what I was doing, I was told this is not correct, and I wasn't given room to, because I wasn't sitting in the executive meetings.
Yeah.
And my name was thrown on the table all the time as an excuse for why the team was doing badly. And it obviously hurt me. When you come to work, I actually got to a point where even my when you start having pain in your, you're so traumatized and you're so stressed that you start having headaches and muscle pains and stuff like that. And waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, you just wake up from sleep and you're like, oh my God, is it almost time to go to work? Oh no, I wish I didn't have to go to work. If only I had something else to do, I wouldn't go to work.
Imagine
it was that bad.
You went from taking a moment, a step of faith. You got the big break.
Yeah.
Worked a few months with a great team.
Yes.
And now you're facing the project manager from hell.
I feel that the experience that I had when I got fired years before, fired for trying to stand my ground, because I remember even years later, I then had a conversation with the director. And I said to her, I'm struggling to speak up for what is right because I once spoke up and was victimized for it. So I wondered whether I should have just kept quiet, or because now I'm not sure whether speaking up again is going to land me into trouble or not. But this not speaking up still landed me into trouble. But then later on, I realized it's better for me to stand for the truth. Just stand for the truth.
What you know,
exactly. Yeah, just stand for the truth. Yeah.
That's what I wanted us to get to. To say, what then should a person do? And that's exactly what I also agree with that. Follow the right procedures, do the right thing, and then if that ends you in trouble, then that's that. Let that door close, and another one will open. Then if you go away and people actually think you were part of the bad guys when you were not. But I'm glad that you had that conversation with your director later on. It definitely put everything into perspective for them as well.
Yeah.
And you got to speak your truth and bring clarity to the situation, which is good.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And so what then happened in the 5th month is we expected the project manager to report to the team. We expected the project manager to come, and the project manager didn't report. The first few days, the assumption was the project manager had been assigned temporarily in another project. Then we realized a week has passed. Then the director came and told us that the project manager is operating from the office for the interim, but the director didn't say much. In the 2nd week, the project manager came to the team and approached me and requested that I walk out with them. They wanted to have a word with me. As we walked out of the office building and went outside in the car park, the project manager had tears in their eyes. And they didn't really offer an apology per se, but it was, I call it a near apology. When somebody is maybe too proud to say I'm sorry, but then tries to go around it. You know what, Jessica, all I just wanted to do is to help you to be a better consultant. I was just trying to coach you. And I'm like, where's this coming from? From nowhere, somebody just starts, I didn't mean to give you a hard time. I just wanted, and I'm like there was no context. I didn't understand what had happened, but what I could see was their eyes were teary, and I could tell that something had happened. I don't know where, maybe in the office, maybe in meetings, or maybe somebody had eventually spoken out, or one of the team members had eventually spoken out. So that maybe led to the project manager being called off the project. And then a month later, we then had a conversation. First with the first director that I met, and they asked me how I was, and I said I'm fine. And after a while, then I said, unless if you really want me to tell you exactly how I feel, I am better now, but I've had the worst working experience. I've had other bad experience, but this one was like personal. It felt like personal. It felt like this person was just fighting me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were attacking your confidence.
Attacking my confidence, just questioning everything I did. According to them, I was incapable of anything. I was incapable of.
Imagine after fighting so hard to be in that position, they wanted you to quit by yourself.
Exactly.
That would have been, I'm sure, something that you contemplated.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
I'm this close.
So it shook my confidence. I had to work on my confidence very hard. You know, when you start reading and listening to YouTube,
yes.
And that time I was now driving. If you're driving to work, you're listening to positive, inspirational, pick me up sessions, because I now needed to believe in myself, because somebody kept on pulling me down and telling me I'm not good enough. I actually am incapable of anything. I'm useless. Yeah.
Can you imagine that people are getting away with things like that in the corporate world?
It's unfortunate. It's happening.
And
people
it's
are killing
happening a
people.
lot.
People are hurting people's careers falsely.
Yeah, but at least I love the fact that you got to have a sort of a vindication at the end.
Yeah.
You held on, and your vindication came.
Yeah.
People then got to know the real story.
Yes.
And they got to see your side. So maybe that's hope for someone who may be going through something like that, and they feel like there's no, like, no one believes them, and the person in power is the one that's speaking and saying all these negative things.
So that before this experience with this project manager from hell, the previous year I was leading teams. I was leading teams of 20 people.
Imagine.
I was leading big teams, and there was no complaint from the client, from whoever. And this time, this project manager is saying I'm incapable of everything that I touch my hands on. I don't know anything. And then soon after that contract, at the end of that, I was posted to another client where I was working with clients at a senior level.
And you were leading.
And I led, and the project was successful.
Wow.
And even thereafter, I was just like team lead. Large projects, large teams.
It's funny how, people come and then they actually try to change your mindset about yourself. And unfortunately, some people actually then stay down,
Yeah.
That would be their fault.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that wasn't your case. You still knew that, at least even if it took you listening to YouTube videos, you knew that wasn't your truth. Because that's what led you to even looking for motivation, because you wanted to get back to who you are.
Yeah.
So that's encouragement for someone out there to say, do whatever it takes, but don't stay down there, even if it takes long, even if it takes watching YouTube videos, therapy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Get back up.
Yeah.
Okay, so after this, did things start looking out for you in the company, or what was the next?
Yeah, things looked up. I was, in terms of responsibility, I would always get roles, leadership roles, like I said, leading big teams. Instances where if I work on a project and then there's another extension on that project, the client would even say, can you make sure that when you bring the team, make sure Jessica is part of that team?
Imagine.
Yeah, so
when
things
the
like
client
that.
is
Yeah, but one challenge we had in that organization I was working for was there was toxicity amongst
the culture.
There was a culture of competition, people competing for promotions. So sometimes people would try to bring each other down so that they are elevated.
So do you think that culture was nurtured? Is that why it was?
I think it was encouraged. It wasn't encouraged by talking, but I think the performance management system itself was such that people believed that I have to badmouth the other person so that so it was a performance management system that said if we are working in a team, whoever is going to write your performance report has to talk to everybody in your team, even people that are at the same level with you.
Oh.
So it then means if we are at the same level and you are vying for a promotion and you want to put me down, any other mistake or any small thing that even is not even consequential to work, you can use it you can pinpoint and say Jessica is not good at leadership because she did 1, 2, 3, and use examples that are not even that. But now it depends with whoever is also gathering information.
Yeah.
If they are preferring somebody else, then they would use it. So people would always look over their backs because you couldn't just be yourself, because human beings are human beings, but then you have to be like always watching your back. If I do this, somebody's gonna see it and then use it as feedback to pull me down. So it was very toxic. It was toxic.
So I'm sure like you wouldn't be the person to be trying to bring someone else down for a promotion.
No.
So how were you surviving in such a culture? Like I'm sure you kept to your standards, you said what's right.
Yeah. So remember, after realizing that I should speak up and all that, I was now speaking up, which wasn't something that was favored by, sometimes people don't want to hear the truth. So if you tell them this is not working, people don't want to hear it.
So you tell them that the system does not work.
Yeah, the system does not work, or the way you're gathering this information is flawed. Why are you prioritizing this point over this point? Don't you see this is more relevant, but you're now scoring it down? The one that is actually not relevant, you're scoring it up. So if you question that, then they say you've got a big mouth.
So it would be for someone else's performance or yours.
So they gather. Usually from, let's say you get an opportunity to speak. You're given, this is what we've collected. People have said this, so this is what we are going to put in your performance feedback. Let's discuss, and then if we agree, then you sign. So as you're agreeing, then you're like, but no, this doesn't make sense. Why is this used as an example? In what grounds? On what grounds? And then some people, depending on if they like somebody in the team that they want to elevate, then they try to enforce to say, no, this is correct, it's valid, you're just not wanting, you're not receiving feedback. I'm like, I receive feedback, but let's agree that this is actually not consequential. It's trivial. The weight you're giving this thing is, yeah.
And I'm sure you would have, it was trivial. So in situations like that, do you now then go back and you ask yourself, should I stand up or should I just keep quiet? Like, did you keep fighting that system?
I kept fighting that system for a long time, and I then realized that people were now thinking I'm a bad person. When you all questioning, they're like, oh, Jessica, yeah, obviously she's not just gonna keep quiet. So you know that you're now there are people that just say yes, 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 yes. Right? So those people that say yes, yes, yes will then look at you and say, why is she always questioning things? Why is she always... So towards just before, eventually people got retrenched from that organization. The whole department was closed eventually in the long term. But before that, I was also like, I think this is not the place for me anymore. I've learned what I know, and I was ready to look for an exit. Because I realized this is not working for me. I'm trying to elevate myself. I'm trying to be positive, but it looks like the toxicity, the negativity is too much. If you speak up, then you're fighting. Why are you fighting? Why are you speaking up? Just be a yes person. Because if you're gonna have a perception about you, then our perception is gonna be reality.
Perception.
Yeah, if I just have a perception about you, then that becomes a reality. Then it's something that I can put in a report as a performance feedback.
Someone actually say that to you.
People would talk about it and say, Jessica, you're doing this. You must be mindful that perception is reality. And perception. So I ended up saying, if you want perception to be a reality, it's gonna be your reality, not mine.
Which is true.
Your perception is going to be your reality. Don't make it my reality. So use it, but I'm not going to stop doing what I know is right just because I'm scared that you might perceive me otherwise, and then, no.
Perceive you otherwise how? Because they'll be skewing the perception.
They'll be skewing the perception, and
they're
then
doing the right thing.
Yes, they'll skew the perception, and whoever they tell then believes it because it's the perception. I don't know why that phrase was just loosely used, and everybody was like, perception is reality.
Yeah,
and
that's when you know the culture was toxic.
Exactly.
If
So perception was what they were using, even in performance reviews. If people perceive you as this, then that's what's going to go in your report, and that's what's going to be signed and said. And then you'll be like, Jessica is this person, based on perception, not facts, nothing.
Do you think even in the companies or corporates where they don't explicitly say the phrase that you just said right now, it's still the case? Like if you present yourself well, you communicate well, you're just this pleasant person, and you don't really cause fights, do they not lean more towards such a person? Like just from your analysis of not just that company, like any other company, do you think it's sometimes not outright said, but you can tell you have two people and one is a very hard worker but they're not good with their soft skills, or like not even soft skills, like they don't know how to converse or engage with different people at different levels, and there's that one person that just knows how to talk, but if you go to their work, it doesn't back up how they talk. I've seen like there are situations where the person who talks more, the person who's
perceived
able to
as if they know what they're doing.
So it's just that at your company that you're working at was so toxic that people actually could say such things.
Yeah.
Which were wrong.
They will tell you you're doing this, mind you, perception is reality. Meaning, whatever you're doing, I'm gonna use it tomorrow as an example for your feedback. And it's gonna be negative.
So now even your
so I ended up
just your life.
Yes, just
you
your
just
life.
feel like you're being watched.
You were watched every movement. You were watched every movement. You were watched every movement.
Wow.
And anything, just being yourself, just being real, just being you, would be turned against you.
So you had to put on a persona. That's what they wanted.
They wanted you to put a persona, and I was like, I'm done. I've never put a persona, yes. I've been quiet where I needed to speak. That's the only thing that was different that I'd done for those 5 months that I was there. But other than that, I would speak my mind. I was who I was. But they were like, don't be who you are. Manage, make, I don't know whether it was pretense or whatever, but just toe the line so that you are perceived as this person because, yeah.
Wow. Interesting. What lessons can we learn from that? You know, like what lessons
I'm not sure right now because honestly, it looks like you said that example of saying people will talk fluently, who are present, who are visible,
and
they are perceived
and
as if
people
they
go to get training for that so that they can have a better advantage over others in the society, in corporate world. And that's not something that we would necessarily shun as well if someone goes to learn how to be that person.
But don't balance.
Yes.
Balance the two.
Yes.
Don't just be visible but not delivering.
Yes, for sure.
Do the two.
Both of them, right? Because sometimes people then learn how to converse in such a way that they're still delivering the message, but in a way that somehow it has like a different, I don't know, like impact, you know, because I know like there's two people can say the same things, but one has learned so like people skills that they know how to deliver the same kind of tough message that you're probably delivering, but they've learned how to deliver it well, such as it's received well. So we could learn to be people who like just invest in soft skills as well, as much as we are hard workers, because I feel like we go to school, especially if you're from Africa, like you go to school, you work hard, you focus on the hard work. The soft skills, not so much, you know. It's only like people who are into debates and public speaking that end up being such people, and those are the things that help you to get business. Those are the things that help you to get connections, and you need both, like we're saying, like we're discovering now. Those are the things that help you to avoid conflict, but at the same time putting through your ideas forward, making suggestions in a way that doesn't cause havoc, like, you know. So it's just life lessons as well, you know, things that
maybe even what you're saying, maybe the project manager got away with things because they had better soft skills. So they were perceived as if they know until when the critical delivery items were needed. That's when they
knew how to speak.
They knew how to speak, they knew how to manage.
The perception.
They knew how to manage how the executives view them.
But they were not balancing.
They were not balancing the two.
But I actually don't understand why they were even going against what they did. If they didn't know how to do it, they should have just left it. You know, like just do what the director said. Why were they changing? That part, I feel like Did you manage to get any answers
No,
for that?
I never got to understand whether they really were that confused themselves.
Right?
That
Because
they misunderstood when the director was saying they were they were hearing the opposite. Maybe.
I wonder, but
yeah.
I like that we've unpacked that to say we must invest in our soft skills as well, so that when we go into the corporate world, we know how to communicate our dissatisfactions in the right way, and we also back up ourselves with the good work. I feel like we usually nail it at the good work, and then the other part is neglected, and both of them should be there if you want to excel generally in the corporate world. So
honestly, you're right, because I think for some time I thought my work will speak for itself. I think I've heard it before as well, that the work will speak for itself, but sometimes the work might not even get an opportunity to speak for itself, because already before you the work speaks for itself, people have already cancelled you,
or someone has already taken your work and made it theirs.
Exactly.
Like I did that. So where is Jessica's work in there?
Yes.
Like if the senior says they did the work, without acknowledging you, how would the director know that you did?
So
exactly. So you need to talk to the director yourself.
Yes.
But without, in a way that is, that puts yourself out there. That's when you drop the nuggets of, when I was at the client, I looked at this and, in a way that will make the director know, oh, part of that report, that was Jessica's stuff. That was this person's stuff. How did you then, what then took place after all of the toxicity? You already mentioned that people were retrenched. What was now going on? And,
by the time the retrenchment process commenced, I think I checked out. I was ready to move to the next level. I was working on myself, and I knew I was even giving myself timelines to say, by this time I think I must be out of this organization. So I was working on myself, I was working on entrepreneurship, I was working on launching myself outside of employment. So when we were then told that the company was no longer doing well, and they were cutting down, and they were closing the entire department, and everybody was going to be retrenched, I was at peace. I actually felt like the timeline I'd given myself was even a little bit further, and I was like, maybe it's just God's way of, they say, there's a Shona phrase where they say there was a frog that was just next to the river, and this river was flooded, and it was like the frog wanted to cross and didn't know how to cross and not get washed away by the raging river. So somebody just walks up to the frog and just feels irritable and just feels like they want to be cruel, and then they kick this frog just out of spite, and then the frog is like in the air, pain, wondering why would somebody just kick me, but before they know it, they're across, they're on the other side. They're on the other side. So they say it in Shona, they say it better in Shona, but
the visuals there.
So they say it better in my language to say, they say it better in Shona, but basically somebody does something cruel to somebody, thinking they're punishing them, or they're just being spiteful, not knowing that they're actually enabling them to achieve that thing that they wanted to do they didn't even know how they were going to do it, but in making that person uncomfortable, you're giving them the door, you're propelling them, you're opening the door for them to go wherever they wanted to go. So as much as it was a retrenchment, it was not somebody saying, I want Jessica to lose a job. It affected everybody, but it was an unfortunate situation that was now propelling me to get to that point where I needed to be out of employment for me to start thinking outside the box.
I love that. So we've spoken in the past few episodes, and you said where there's growth, there's pain.
Exactly.
And this, like what you just, the story you just told us, the proverb, just depicts the same thing. You say the frog is in the air and it's in pain. It's wondering, why is this happening to me?
Why did this person kick me? They're being cruel. Why do they?
And sometimes you find a lot of people come and cause you pain, but when you look back, you would have learned something. You would have grown.
Exactly.
And in the moment, you don't think that this is growth.
It doesn't feel like growth.
It's hurting.
It doesn't feel like growth.
But I guess it's important to just have that mentality to say, okay, on the other side of this, is something good. I will get through this. There will be better opportunities. Never think this has happened, that's the end for me.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you knew now that this is a door, like it's leading you to something bigger.
Yeah.
So never look at something, you being counted out, as if that's the end for you, as if you're being put backwards, because it's if a door closes, another one opens, right? So yes,
it was at that time where you were in your final year in university, so I should have been worried and about how I was gonna finish off paying your school fees, your tuition at university. But I was like, I think this is the place that I need to be. This is the discomfort that I need for me to start thinking of myself and growing as a business, or as not just an employee, doing other things that I ordinarily wouldn't do or wouldn't have time to do because I'm employed. Because when you are fully employed, you invest all your time in your employer, and sometimes you don't even have time to grow outside of the employment. So I was like, it might look like I don't have income, but this is an unfortunate or painful situation that I need. I need this.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you then start writing the book?
During that time when I was at work, I thought about writing a book numerous times. I was thinking, I'm going to write a book, and I never got the time. I used to work long hours, weekends. I never got to write. So I got retrenched. The moment I got retrenched, I'm like, I'm starting now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm starting now.
So that was the launch for you.
Yeah, that was my launch. Yes.
I love that.
So it started with a book writing workshop. There's a friend of mine that I'd worked with who decided to invite me for a book writing. So I attended soon after we got retrenched.
Wow.
That was the beginning.
And that was in 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
And the book was officially launched in 2023.
Yes.
And you gathered your thoughts. You wrote down your life journey. You summarized it, but in a way that still depicted your character, your loves, your likes, your dislikes, your everything. Your family. So you needed time to get to a place where you put your experiences onto paper. If you have been taking away, valuable lessons from these unpacking episodes, make sure to grab a copy of this book on Amazon. The title is Shooting Through Concrete Walls by Jessica Zivuku, and you can also look her up on her Instagram and Facebook, same handle as her YouTube, Jessica Zivuku. You can reach out to her there, and you can send her a DM if you want a book delivered to you, and she'll make it delivered to you.
Books are available in South Africa. They can be couriered to you. Just DM me in Zimbabwe. DM me. I'll share the details of where you can go and grab yourself a copy. Otherwise, worldwide, buy the copy on Amazon.
Awesome. This was a really good couple of series. I'm glad we did this, and we got to learn more about who the author is, and people can get to know more about you. And hopefully when they go now into the book, they'll go with a good perception. And they'll go with a good expectation of what to find. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us. We've come to the end of our series. How do you feel?
Excited.
You're excited.
I hope you guys comment and share your thoughts. If you've had similar experiences like the ones I've had, you can just share in the comment section. If you have questions, you can send your questions and we'll sure respond to you. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.